Welcome to week 2 of our virtual family cooking class. Today's lesson is about knife skills and hygiene sanitation. So knife skills we started talking about last week, but we'll talk in more depth this week. We'll do a little bit more cutting this week. And can anyone remind me how we protect our fingers from the knife? What's that term we use when we curl our fingers in? Yeah, Michaela, you're doing it. What's it called? Go ahead, Michaela.
Bear claw.
Bear claw. Very good. So bear claw. We're going to use bear claw again today. And we're also going to do tunnel. So remember those things. Today we are going to be making individual frittatas. We're also going to be making a green salad with an herb vinaigrette. And if you're not familiar with a frittata, it's like a little, well, we're making little ones, but they can also be big ones. But they're kind of like fluffy omelets. So you usually start it on the stove and then bake it in the oven. But today we're going to bake them in muffin tins, which makes them a quick, easy, grab and go lunch, breakfast. So the equipment we'll be needing today is a muffin tin. We'll need a large saute pan and a wooden spoon or whatever kind of utensil you like to cook with. You'll need a measuring cup, a liquid measuring cup, some measuring spoons, and then just an assortment of bowls. You'll need a chef knife. You could also use a paring knife, whatever you're more comfortable with, and your cutting board. And then just some forks and bowls handy for tasting. You can also preheat your oven to 350 degrees. We're going to start with our onion again. We're going to cut the bottom off. I'm going to do it the exact same way we did it last week, just as a reminder. So we're going to cut our bottom off. We're going to hold it with our bear claw. And make sure you have a bowl handy for your scraps. And like I said last week, you can save those and use them for vegetable broth. You're going to cut the top off. And so as a reminder, you always want to be working on a nice flat surface. So now that I have cut the top and the bottom off, I have a nice flat surface to work on. I have cut them so that the back of the onion is still intact. And then I'm going to cut with my bear claw, holding down. So we'll get started on our spinach, but first, I think we should taste it because we didn't taste our spinach last week. And it's always really great to taste your products, your ingredients in their raw state and then in their cooked state. So that way you can compare and reflect on like how it changed with the cooking process. So I'm going to rip the stem off my spinach and just rip a little piece to try. If you touch your hand into your mouth, you should wash your hands. But if only the food gets in your mouth, you're good. Does anyone taste their spinach?
Yeah.
And what is it? How would you describe it, Michaela?
I don't really like it raw.
You don't really like it? Do you like it when it's cooked? Did you like it in the pasta last week?
Yeah, I loved the pasta.
So that goes to show sometimes it tastes a lot different when it's cooked than when it's raw.
I loved the pasta last week. It was really good.
Good.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will all like these egg muffin cups too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a reminder on how to cut our spinach because we're going to use my favorite knife cut, chiffonade. So we're going to take a few leaves and we're going to roll them up like a burrito. And then we're going to slice. So when we diced, we use this back end of the knife. When we mince, we use the back end of the knife. But when we slice, we're going to use the middle part of the knife. So we're going to slice our spinach roll, that's one of our vocab words, into these beautiful ribbons called chiffonade. So the way we're going to cut our mushrooms is also with a slice. So I'm going to hold my mushroom with my bear claw or my tunnel. And if I do it with my tunnel, I'm going to use that top to middle part of the knife and cut them into slices like that. You guys can all see. Can anyone with a wave tell me what vegetable you think we need to start cooking with? Go ahead, Michaela.
For onions?
Our onions, very good. Our onions are going to be the least tender, so we're going to have to start with those. And then we're going to add our mushrooms, and then last we'll add our spinach. If you don't have cooking spray, here's a really great trick. You can take a piece of paper towel, or if you have a pastry brush, you can use that as well, and pour some oil on it. Enough so that it's pretty wet. And then you can rub this in all the creases of your muffin tin. So make sure you get all the way to the bottom because we want to make sure that our muffins pop out super easily. If you didn't have oil, you could also do this with butter. I need a little more oil. So once your muffin tin is ready, you can go ahead and set it aside. My spinach is all wilted in. My mushrooms are soft. I'm going to get a fork and taste it for seasoning. You guys should too. It's really important when we're working with eggs because they're raw is that we are using proper hygiene. So we want to make sure that we are not touching the raw eggs and then going and touching food that we're going to eat because then we could get sick. So eggs can have a bacteria in them called salmonella, and that's something that can make us really sick. So when you crack your egg, you want to crack it on a flat surface. A lot of people like to crack it on the edge of the bowl. That's actually not the proper way to crack an egg. You crack it on a flat surface, and then we're going to sanitize our countertop after this. I'm going to show you how to do that. So you can go ahead and crack your egg. And if it looks good, no shell, no funny colored yolk, you can go ahead and drop it into your bowl. Once you have all your eggs in, you can go ahead and whisk. And what we want to do here is make sure that we have all the eggs broken up so that we don't see any big chunks of white or big chunks of yolk. And we also are going to incorporate a little bit of air in. And by doing that, we'll get a nice fluffy frittata. And I'm going to portion out my vegetables right into my muffin tin. So I'm going to try and portion these evenly so that I get 12 muffins. And you can fill these up pretty much almost all the way to the top. So the next thing we're going to be making is salad. And salad is something that's called a ready-to-eat food. So that means that we're not going to cook it at all. So what I'm concerned with is that there might be some egg left over on our surface, and I don't want that to contaminate our salad and make us sick. So we're going to do something that's called sanitize. And to sanitize means to remove the germs or the bacteria or the virus from the surface. So what I'm going to do is, first thing I'm always going to do to sanitize, I have 2 rags here. You can also use 2 paper towels, whatever you want to do, but you need 2. So with my first paper towel rag, I'm going to wipe down all of the crumbs from my surface. So any little bits that have been left on the countertop. So this is going to be your dry rag. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw these out in the garbage. And then here is my sanitizer. So what I'm using is a mixture of bleach and water. but you could go ahead and use whatever favorite cleaner you have. So I'm going to go and spray this down. Woo! And then I'm going to wipe it down with my other rag. And then you actually want to allow this to dry for 2 minutes before you start working on it. I washed my herbs already and put them in a damp paper towel. This is a great way to keep herbs in the refrigerator too, so that they don't go bad. And you can do this dressing with any herbs you have. It's nice with parsley, basil, even a little rosemary or thyme. I'm going to use 1 stem of mint, and I used 3 chives. But you guys can, if you like it herbaceous, go ahead and use a little bit more. So I'm going to take my mint leaves off of my stem. Oh, I have some oregano too. And I'm going to do my mint leaves just like my spinach. So I'm going to chiffonade them. I'm going to roll them up. And I'm going to very carefully use my bear claw. And then these are a little big for the salad dressing. So I'm going to run my knife through them one more time using my mince. So I'm going to hold the top of my knife and I'm going to use the back of my knife to mince them, to rock back and forth. And an emulsion is when you have 2 substances that don't normally mix and you make them mix together. So today, well, in general, a lot of times you may have heard the expression oil and water don't mix. And that's because oil is a fat and fat doesn't dissolve in water. So in order to make oil and water mix, you have to do one of 2 things or both. You have to agitate it. So we're going to whisk it today. And then you also can add an emulsifying agent. And that's something that has both water-loving and water-hating properties, something called hydrophilic and hydrophobic. And that helps to make the oil and the water mix. Next is stream in the olive oil. So I got my oil here, and I'm going to go ahead with my left hand as I'm whisking, as I'm agitating, and stream in my olive oil. And so what I'm looking for is that my lemon juice and my olive oil stay blended together. So if you unsuccessfully make an emulsion, what happens is your lemon juice will separate from your olive oil and you'll get 2 different layers. So the next important thing about any dressing or anything we make is tasting. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a tasting spoon and taste for seasoning. Mine needs just a touch more salt and a little more pepper. So now we can go ahead and dress our salad. Again, I'm only using like half of mine, so I'm only going to put half my dressing in. You guys can go ahead and put all yours if you're going to eat the whole thing today. And then toss that up. And once you get that all mixed together, let's go ahead and grab a little plate and taste it together. These are so beautiful. So what you're looking for to know that they're done is that they've puffed up completely and that when you touch them, they spring back, just like a muffin. So mine are done. So you want them to spring back. They're going to be nice and puffy. They're going to fall a little bit once they cool. But right now you want them to look puffy and they shouldn't be like liquidy in the center. Can everyone see them okay? So we'll set these aside and get those cooling down a bit so we can unmold them and taste one. Well, I'll see you guys next week. Enjoy your frittatas and your salad.